answers given in the scriptures, given by so many masters, and the whole journey of finding out who really I am, who am I, begins from the answers that you already have. That I am Atman, I am Paramatman, I am Brahman, or my natural state is silence, permanent happiness, permanent joy. These are the answers that we have about that recognition, that remembrance. And our day-to-day state inside, a state of mind, is a state of tension, a state of bondage, a state of unhappiness. This state creates a desire to find out, or to reach, or to achieve, or to become that what you already been given an answer. So your journey begins from a desire to reach somewhere, to achieve something, or to become somebody like a Buddha or all enlightened masters. So the journey begins with the mind's desire. And all that we do during that journey, during that search, whatever you are calling it, spiritual methods, spiritual path that you take, you have so much unconscious desire still there while you are doing something to reach there, to achieve that. Isn't it? So the whole effort also is done through the mind. So all techniques, methods, meditations, or whatever we do into the spiritual path is somewhere the mind's effort with a purpose, with a goal to reach somewhere, to achieve something, which the answer that you already have before, that where you want to reach, what you want to achieve, and what you want to become, already have. Any journey that you take with the mind, with a purpose, with a future goal, cannot liberate you through the mind or cannot liberate you from the mind. So the whole question of remembering who am I, realizing myself, my natural state, also has somewhere some answer that who actually I am searching, what state I am searching, where I want to reach, where I want to go. Isn't it? The people who go to Ramanashram or follow Ramana, Ramana's technique of asking, who am I? They are sitting there with an answer already they have, isn't it? Now, if you have already an answer of what you are searching, where you want to reach, if you have all the information about that state, then all the efforts through the mind will lead you through your efforts, very strong efforts, very strong, intense desire will lead you to a very deep hypnotic state. It can take you to any kind of illusory hypnotic state. That's the game of the mind. Because the intense desire, intense longing intense thirst inside, has the power to create any kind of projected illusory experience. See. So all the experiences that you experience, which you call the spiritual experience, even the experience of enlightenment, which you call it, is nothing but mind created, mind projected, illusory hypnotic state. Basically, the answer to this question, who am I? It looks like this question, who am I, has an answer. But actually, in reality, the truth is, the question has to dissolve. There is no answer. Because the questioner mind has to dissolve. So far as you have an answer, or you have reached to some answer, some experience, is nothing but a projection. So the I which wants to know who am I, the I who wants to know who I am or who am I, this I, when it dissolves, what remains? When there is no I, then there is no desire to know who am I. Isn't it? So where is the question of getting to the answer? So whoever is claiming that they got the answer, whoever is claiming that they have achieved something, they have reached somewhere, they have realized something, I have a big question mark. If I say that I have experienced the state of enlightenment, the state of enlightenment means when there is no I, then who is there to experience? Who is there to experience? And where is the experience? Where is the experience? If there is an experience, there is an experiencer, which is the mind, which is the I. And I is the hindrance, the mind is the hindrance of getting to that state which you are. See, because mind is nothing but a state which is born out of all kinds of attachments that we have created. And through the attachments, all the attachments has given us some recognition. And from that recognition, I have created this I, which I recognize myself as I am. Isn't it? So all this recognition that I have about myself is coming from all the attachments. If you ask yourself who you are, and the answers that you get will be coming from all the attachments that you have created, which you call my, mamat. મારું આપણે જેને કહીએ. Each my has given me somewhere the recognition of I. So this I is born out of all these attachments, and that state of attachment is the mind, is the mind. Now this attachment which I am talking about is the attachment of consciousness, which is your natural state, which has no name, no form, no recognition, no definition. This consciousness, when it gets identified with the knowledge part that we have, the recognized area where we have all the informations, beliefs, the knowledge that we accumulate, when the consciousness gets identified one with that knowledge part. This attachment to the knowledge part is the mind, is the mind. And out of all the imaginary attachments that we create out of the knowledge that we have, I have a knowledge that I am Kiran. It is not that I know that I am Kiran. I have been given the information from the childhood that you are Kiran. That's why I started believing that I am Kiran. I have been told from the childhood that I am a man. But actually in reality, this male body where I exist, I am living into the male body actually. The consciousness which I am is now into this male body and expressing through this male body, but I have been given an information from the childhood that you are a boy, then you are a man. So I believe that I am a man or you are a woman. So this I which says that I am a man is coming from the attachment of that knowledge which I have believed to be true and lost or forgotten actually what I am and started believing that I am a man. You understand? So this attachment state is the mind. And from the attachment to the physical form, this attachment has given me a recognition. And that recognition which I call myself as a man. If you ask yourself, you will see that all the attachment has given you some kind of recognition. Your profession, your family, your religion, your culture, your guru, all attachments that you create. You are attached to your guru, maybe Osho, then you call yourself sannyasi. Then you have a new name. See, this first the attachment, identification that you call, he is my guru, my religion. Then you call yourself Hindu or Muslim or Christian. Anywhere you are connected with my has given you some recognition. So this I which is born out of these recognitions, born out of the attachments, the moment you start understanding, questioning, that is called the self-inquiry. It is not to repeat who am I, but to really go deep into this question, asking each of the definitions that you have about I. Really, am I this? This self-inquiry, sitting with yourself, opening each layer of your I and question it. And through this questioning, not searching for an answer, but getting the clarity from the question itself. You see, each question reveals something which I call the understanding. And that understanding slowly dissolves this I. Because the moment you realize that I am not this, so that part of I is gone. See, before you are having a lot of definitions about your I, so many recognitions about your I. Each recognition when you start questioning, then once you understand that this is not I am, it is just, it's my profession, it's my religion. This clarity slowly dissolves that part of I. So what is happening indirectly with the self-inquiry is the dissolution of I. The dissolution of I means the dissolution of the attachments.
Does the mind work with that? I mean, because the mind doesn't want to lose that identification.
This is where the problem is.
So how does it work?
Through your own understanding. Only the understanding can liberate you. Your own clarity, your own understanding, your own observation without any frames, without any preconditioned ideas or answers. Just look at it. See the nakedness of it. Once you see by yourself, once you understand by yourself, this understanding will slowly, slowly liberate you from these identifications. And in the end, if this I slowly, slowly dissolves, what will remain? Is there any answer which is going to be there? Is there any questioner remaining there? It just finishes. And in that nothingness, into that silence, there is something which dawns upon you. It is not the answer that you are Brahman or Paramatman or somebody. It is so clear that you are one. Because the division which was created because of the mind, and that mind which dissolves, the divisions that we created because of the I, when the I dissolves, what remains is just oneness. Just oneness. But that oneness is not the answer, but it is the clarity within. And that state of clarity is the enlightenment. Is the enlightenment. Is the awakening. When you are sleeping and dreaming, in the dream, you have so many different dreams and so many identifications that you create into the dreams. You sometimes become a beggar, sometimes become a king, sometimes become a rich person, sometimes become a poor man. These different identifications that we create into the dream, the moment you wake up, what do you realize? In an ordinary way, we realize that I am not what I was thinking or I was dreaming. But then you come to the reality. You come to the reality that you are not that what you were into the dream, but now what you are is a different person. Same inner sleep that we have of believing something, recognizing something which is not actually the reality. Once you slowly, slowly wake up to this knowing and understanding, this clarity, at a certain point it is total flowering, total awakening, where you see very clearly what exactly is the truth. Then the rest is just a game. Then you realize that this is the physical body that I have. So I have a male body. But that identification that you have before, that I am a man. So when you say I am a man, you separate yourself from the woman. But when you understand that I am a male body, so this I is separated from that identification, will understand exactly the same, that you are having a female body, but this I is the one, same. The one who has a male body is the same who has this female body. This oneness. Not only that, every expression of life, you will understand very clearly that this is a separate expression into the existence, but the one who is expressing is the one. Is the one. So this awakening means coming to this clarity inside. But that's not an experience. That's your natural state. Like awakening in the morning is not an experience. Understand this. When you wake up in the morning, this is not your experience. Through the awakening, you experience everything. Once you wake up in the morning, you experience beautiful sky, the birds singing, everything you experience. But through the awakening, but awakening cannot be an experience because it is your natural state. Same way inside, when you wake up, when you are awakened to some clarity, this awakening or enlightenment or flowering or liberation, whatever you call it, cannot be an experience. How can it be an experience? It is your natural state. Through this natural state, you experience all. Through this natural state, you experience everything because you have senses. And the sensations are the experience points. But you have very clear understanding inside that what you are experiencing is something which is happening. Something which is happening.
Which has nothing to do with the mind.
You do not get identified with it. You do not become one with it. You become aware of it. That is what we call to be conscious or to be aware. This awareness is not an experience. It is your own inner clarity. See. This state inside is really what we are. That is our natural state. So any claim of any experience of that state denies itself. But the people who are searching, the people who are desiring, the people who are longing, the people who are into this spiritual search, and if someone claims that I got it, and someone says that I have reached to that enlightened state, or I have now reached to the state of freedom, everybody runs after that person because you want something and he got it. So you go to him and ask, how did you get it? Please, can you help me to get to it? Everybody is just running after it. And this is how the holy business goes on. So he has it, you want it. How much? And you are not at fault, I tell you. The people who run after these masters are not at fault because they are ignorant, absolutely ignorant. They do not know what they are running after or what they want. But the people who cheat, the people who claim, the people who are recognizing that I am somebody superior to you, come to me, I will liberate you. These are all business, marketing strategies. And we have been cheated not only now, thousands of years, this humanity has been cheated. And they are enjoying, look at these masters. Their dream is to create an ashram. They give the name ashram, but actually they want to create an empire. They want slaves there. And everybody goes because they are so much into this demand, longing and desiring. Such a weak mind. Then at a certain point you get tired, you go to the other ashram, you go to the other ashram, you go to the other master. My question is, just ask yourself, what are you searching? What do you want? Why you are just wandering around? Just sit with yourself and look inside. Ask yourself, what are you searching? What do you want in this life? Once you understand this, you will understand really, actually, what exactly is the reality.
We want what we don't have.
Pardon?
What we want is what we don't have. People
It has
wanna
been
be
told
happy.
to you that you don't have.
No, if people say, I want to be happy, or I want to be...
So
I wanna
actually
be in
what
peace.
they are describing when you say I want to be happy, what you are describing is I am unhappy.
Exactly, that's
You see?
right. You want what you don't have. Once you have it, you don't want it anymore because you have it.
Then this is also a different understanding that because you are unhappy, you you have been told that you can become happy. You see, it's like if I reach to this state of happiness, I will be free from the unhappiness. So the happiness becomes a goal, isn't it? So then if you want to be happy, how you can be happy, I can tell you. I will not help you to find out why you are unhappy. See, if I want to do business out of it, I will tell you how you can be happy. I will not tell you why you are unhappy. I will not take you to that journey to understand, to investigate, to inquire what is the cause of unhappiness. I will give you somewhere how you can be happy. What can make you happy? See, and this is the whole game. This is the whole game. And the journey with the mind in search of happiness. What mind can give you is two ways a state of happiness. That means two ways a state of absence of unhappiness. It is not actually the state of happiness, but it will give you somewhere a state where you have forgotten the unhappiness or you are successful in suppressing the unhappiness. There are two ways the mind can offer you a state of happiness. That is why we say that the state of happiness is momentary. And this is where the mind is not agreeing. Mind wants a permanent state of happiness. And this is where the spiritual journey begins, in search of the permanent state of happiness. In the worldly life, you have temporary states of happiness. How do you get to this state of happiness? By finding out how you can forget your unhappiness for a momentary time. If you go to a movie, for 1.5 hours, 2 hours, you are sitting in the theater, you forget your unhappiness. And then you come out and say, wow, I was so happy. So this expression that you were so happy is not the right expression. Actually, you should say that I was successful in forgetting my unhappiness for 2 hours. Isn't it? So all the material means that we have invented provides you somewhere a state of forgetfulness where you forget your unhappiness. And for the mind, what is happiness is the forgetting or suppressing the unhappiness. A state of absence of unhappiness is for the mind is a state of happiness. Because you are not treating the cause of unhappiness. You are somewhere keeping aside the unhappiness either through forgetting or through suppression. So it comes back again, isn't it? All these therapies, all the groups is nothing but a kind of hypnotic tricks or hypnotic techniques where you are successful in suppressing it. Suppressing your state of unhappiness and going into some state where you start believing as if you are absolutely dancing and singing and happy. But this is temporary. Again the unhappiness starts coming. It depends upon how much strong your effort is either to forget or to suppress. The duration of the state of happiness will depend upon how strong you are putting an effort to suppress it or to forget it.
So there is no natural state of happiness that you feel happy? Like
There is,
I'm happy.
that is
all
the question is,
I'm happy all the time, so does that
the
mean that I'm
happiness
suppressing?
is not something which is an experience. Unhappiness is an experience. Happiness is a natural state. It is not in contrast to the unhappiness or in opposite to the unhappiness. Happiness is your natural state, a state of understanding. Now, if you understand the cause of unhappiness, like if I give an example, that physical health, a state of health, is not an experience. Disease is an experience. When you have headache, you have experience of the pain, but when you don't have the headache, you don't experience your head. Do you remember your head, that you have a head, unless there is a headache? It is your natural state. So you will not say that now I have a no pain state into my head. Do you say this? The head disappears. So there is no state of no pain of the head. There is a state of painful to the headache. Headache is a state. It's an experience. Health, physical health, is something which you cannot bring about. It is your natural state of the body. If you understand the cause of the disease and become free of the disease, what comes is your health. Isn't it? Same thing, if you understand the cause of the unhappiness and be free from the unhappiness, what remains is a state of happiness. But that cannot be an experience. That is your natural state. Unhappiness can be an experience because it is unnatural. You understand what I am saying? And we have been misguided with this whole idea of searching for the happiness.
Is it possible?
Yes, please. You.
By these techniques of meditation, therapies, and things, that in a state you can have less thoughts. In a state that you forget for a moment, not forget, but the thoughts are less. So it's easier to...
It is not meditation, it is a concentration. You are bringing the whole thought in a one-pointed area. You see. So when you are bringing this whole flow of thought, which is abruptly moving, and you had a lot of thoughts, if you bring them at one pointedness, you will feel that there are less thoughts. Like when you are so much concentrating in your work, there are no thoughts. You are only into that work, isn't it?
More like that you let the thoughts go, but if you do something, like for example bonding, you go.
But if you are sitting silently and let your thoughts go, you will be more disturbed. You see, your effort to let this thought go creates more disturbance to the thought. Why do you want to be free from this whole flow of thought? My question is, let it be there. Somebody has told you that if you are silent with your thought, then you are in a state of silence. Because the cause of disturbance is the moment of thought. Your understanding says when there is no disturbance, there is a state of silence. Same thing which I was saying, when there is no unhappiness, there is a state of happiness. The real state of silence, the real state of happiness includes unhappiness and disturbance together. This is the state of witnessing. When you are doing something with your thoughts, either to quieten it or to silence it, whatever you are doing with your thought, there is a doer still existing there. If you let go only is possible. Even let go cannot be an effort. If you are trying to let go, it is not let go. You are doing something to it. Let go means what? When I just don't do anything. Sit silently and do nothing. The spring comes and the grass grows by itself. What does it mean? Don't do anything. So then all your meditations, what you are doing to silence your mind, has no relevance.
It's like let it happen. Like if you do something and you watch. Yeah. Yeah.
So how can you stop it?
Let it happen.
Unless you detach from it and become aware of it. The secret is, so far as you are doing something to it, you remain identified and attached with it. Isn't it? I want to be free from thought also is a thought. I want to be free from desire also is a desire. You understand the subtleness of it. So what is let go? Let go means just accept it the way it is happening. Zazen, just sit, just look, just listen. Just means no purpose behind any action. Let it happen. So if the thought movement is happening, let it happen. If there is a disturbance happening, let it happen. Let it happen means you accept the way it is happening. Acceptance the way it is happening. From your understanding that I have no freedom to change it. And you stay there with that state of acceptance. This state of acceptance immediately brings you to the witnessing point. Immediately. Because you are not doing anything about it. You are aware of it. This is Vipassana. Not that you are trying to do Vipassana. Vipassana happens the moment you wake up to some understanding that it is all happening. So at that moment, whatever the sensation which is demanding the attention, you wake up to that sensation, that's all. This is Vipassana. Any kind of sensation happening to any senses. So the sensation is happening because of the natural event happening outside which is beyond your control. Some sensation you are receiving each moment because something happening each moment outside. Some sound, some light, some movement, some touch, some taste, some smell. All these five senses, somewhere each moment gets connected. Some sensation happening. So any sensation which is demanding the attention, automatically you wake up to that sensation. That's all. Not with a purpose to be free from it, to do something about it, but to remain there with a total awareness. This is the freedom. And this is the real meditation. This is meditation. Simple example, when you are looking at me, listening to me. If you try to look, can you look? If you try to listen, can you listen? It is happening. So when the demand outside event, outside challenge demands the attention to certain senses, so you are listening and looking simultaneously. But where you are available now to listening, not to looking, isn't it? Though you are looking, but you are not attentive to the looking, but you are attentive to the listening, the sound. So the consciousness is awake to this sensation of sound, not to the sensation of looking. But the moment you look, this will go. It is like a focus lamp. See, it happens so quick. When you are absolutely listening or looking without a purpose. Now if you are listening now, the sensation is happening to the listening and the consciousness is awake to this listening sensation, right? So now you try to listen. Come on.
To understand.
You will miss it. Understanding will happen by itself. You are not making an effort. You are not making an effort to find out the translation of the English language. It happens. Are you making an effort? Why? It is naturally happening. So this is all naturally happening. Your sensation of listening, your listening, translation of the words, understanding is all naturally happening. The moment you try to listen, come on, you will miss. You will miss the flow. You will miss the flow. You will miss the listening. So this, without a purpose, you are not having a purpose to understand, but the understanding is happening. You are not making an effort to understand, the understanding is happening simultaneously. The moment you create a break and try to understand, you will miss it. You will be somewhere else. So this state of listening without a purpose, without an effort, without a doer is a meditation. Is a meditation. That is meditation. That is awareness. Not that you sit silently in the corner or in Buddha hall and close your eyes and try to meditate. This is not meditation. This is mind game. I have done it, I know it. I have gone through all this.
Isn't it helpful?
Pardon?
Isn't it helpful?
It only helps you to intensify your thirst. Because the more and more you try to, and you feel that you cannot, isn't it? You try to become silent, you try to control these thoughts, you try to go beyond mind, and you cannot. So the more you are trying and you are not successful, it intensifies your thirst inside. You see, that way it helps. But it makes you so frustrated. The frustration is boiling then, you know. So that way it helps. But it doesn't help you to come to the understanding, come to that freedom. See, it can put the mind into a state of tiring, a tiredness. Mind gets so tired. At certain point, if you are a beginner, you will not get tired. But after 20 years of meditations or wandering around, ask people who are sitting there for 20 years, ask people who are sitting into the Buddhist monasteries, sitting for 18 hours. But they have no answer to this, and that just they continue. They are compromised somewhere because they have nothing else to do. They wait for tomorrow that enlightenment will happen. That's all. Just hope survives them. Nothing more than that. But if one Buddha can be relaxed, if one person can be enlightened, why not me? Understand. Where I have gone wrong is the question. Where I have gone wrong is the question. How I am going to be right, that is our natural way. But where I have gone wrong, why I am unhappy, why I am disturbed, why I am in tension and frustration and misery, that is the question. Not how I am going to be happy or how I am going to be relaxed.
Why is given the choice?
Pardon?
Why is given the choice to us?
It is not given the choice, it is the nature of mind.
Yeah, but why is it like this?
I have no answer to this because it is somewhere. We have been a victim of the social structure, the religious structure, the cultural structure from the childhood. See, when the child is born, look at the child. The child is born as an enlightened state.
Call us a miscreation.
Miscreation.
If ever we have been created.
Yes.
What did she say?
Miscreation.
We can ask and we can never
This
get
is
an answer.
this is an excuse, I would say. It is not the fault of the creator or the creation or the existence or the life or God, whatever you call it. We have created this state. Look at the whole other expressions of life. Even animals, birds, the plantations. They are all relaxed. Why these humans are not relaxed?
Because we have the choice.
Because we have, not because we have the choice, because we have this beautiful instrument the life is given as an intellect. Intellect. The capacity to think, and that has brought this whole problem. Look at the people who in the mental hospital, they are so happy. Isn't it? But we are so miserable. And we call ourselves as intellectuals and sane people, And we call them mad people. And they laugh at us. It is when you reach to this awakening, the understanding, it is a different kind of madness, I tell you. Jesus was treated as a mad person. Buddha was treated as a mad person. Osho was treated as a mad person by the society, by the community. How many people understood?
So here's another question. They say, Osho said that when you're a Buddha, you have universal consciousness. And what stays from Jesus or from the Buddha, Osho, from the Buddhas are thought waves. We can only connect to them by thought.
You have misunderstood the whole expression. When you reach to that state of a Buddha consciousness, it is not a Buddha consciousness. The consciousness is universal. Like the water into the ocean. If the wave understands, the water is universal into the ocean. This consciousness, the life force that we have in every expression is universal. It is not separate so far as the consciousness is concerned. So far as the physical expression is concerned, it is separate. But what is looking through your eyes and what is speaking through me is the same consciousness, same life force. Because of our ignorance, we have separated it. So once you come to the understanding, that awakening, that clarity and knowing, you come to that state of consciousness where it is universal knowing. It is not separate knowing which divides me from you and here. See, it is a knowledge which divides us. It is knowing which unites us.
And the mystery of universe is known then also?
There is no demand to understand the mystery. Because there is nobody separate than the mystery itself. Then the mystery wants to reveal through somebody, it reveals through somebody. But not there is an effort to reveal the mystery.
Somebody will know we are nothings on a small planet in a mediocre
But
galaxy.
we are that. This understanding which when dawns upon you, when it dawns upon you, you are so much into that state of ecstasy that everything is you and you is everything. This state, when it comes, then everything flows through you. And if the mystery wants to express through you, let it express through you. You become just like an empty bamboo. You see. Then it starts flowing through you. So we see separately Osho, Buddha, Jesus, everyone separate. Because I see myself separate and you see yourself separate. That's why we see them separate. Actually, they are all mediums through them. This mystery expressed, the message came, the life expressed through them. They were all mediums. When they become empty, when the Osho disappeared, what expressed through Osho was that existence, that God. But we see Osho in a different entity, different body, and then we say it is Osho's message or Buddha's message. It is not actually Buddha or Osho. It is the message of life which came through him. But we don't see this. Because we are separating ourselves, and that's why we see them separate. It was a beautiful flower through which this beauty and fragrance of the existence expressed. But that understanding, when it comes, all the messages came through all the enlightened masters, is the same. Is the same. Because that what is expressing through them is the same. Is the same. Only the expressions are different because the time and these people are different. The expressions, the messages are different. That's why we cannot divide it, we cannot separate it. But we don't have that understanding. That's why we belong to one master and we just go against the other, as if there is a division or a contradiction there. What Jesus said, what Buddha said, what Muhammad said, and what Osho said is the same truth. Same truth. But how can you understand the truth unless you reach to that level of understanding? Unless you become Osho, unless you reach to that level of Buddha and Osho and Jesus, how can you understand that? So whatever we understand is our misunderstanding, our misunderstanding. And we impose our misunderstanding into their mouth and then we say Osho said this.
No, but he said really, only the thought waves are reachable.
Yeah, that's the same. So what is the wave at that moment has to express through that expression. Yes. And this is the hindrance. And that hindrance is an illusory hindrance. It is not real. It is just because we have not understood the whole natural mechanism of the working of the functioning of the life itself. Understand it. And once you understand it, and just be in harmony with it, that's all. Connect yourself back to it. And rest is the game. So far as this body is expressing a separate expression of this consciousness, and the way the body demands all the responses, it is all game. Nothing is serious. There is nothing before and there is nothing after. It is just this moment, a bubble has come into this ocean. It will dance for a while, it will disappear. There is no rebirth of that bubble, but there is no rebirth of that wave. It just dances, the dance of the whole existence. We are a dance, we are the waves of that ocean. It's a dance of the existence.
I read in Osho Zen Manifesto that our thoughts go into another womb and become another being.
Our thoughts means that what is absorbed into the consciousness enriches the consciousness. See, the consciousness which is the ocean, like the sun outside, when it makes this wave, the water of the wave hot, and the wave disappears, the water still remains hot. So it is absorbed into the water. So the understanding, what we call mystery, the clarity of something beyond, which is understood through this Buddhas, is absorbed into this universal knowing. So this universal knowing, which Osho has said, the thought, is available to the next expression of the life there, into the humans. This is possible, and this is a reality.
Expression of
Pardon?
is available to the
Next expression of life.
So contrary to what in the West we think the soul is the one that evolves from one
Soul is
to
that
another.
life force.
Osho talks about
So it has no
thought.
death and it has no birth. It is just changing the forms. That is what he said in Gita. Krishna says the same. As we change our clothes, this consciousness changes the body. That is, the water changes the form of the wave. So where is the birth and death? The death and the birth is of the wave, not of the water of the ocean. That self is the water, the content that we have into this separate form does not have any birth and does not have any death. What dies is the body, the form, but then what goes back is the water. Again, that will create another form of a wave.
You are taking away my last hope. I always thought I might make it, and
Next birth.
disappear as a subject, as an individual, disappear, go forever.
At this moment you can disappear. If you understand, look very clearly that what you believe you are is not you are. And you understand very clearly.
I have so much experiences of this, experiences of not
Excellent.
being,
That's your projection of the thoughts.
no, it has happened.
It's your projection. It's your projection. Be aware of this mind game. I warn you. It's your all spiritual experiences which confirms any knowledge that you have about the state is a hypnotic state. It is an illusion. It is not a reality. Understand that. Mind enjoys it. I am telling you because I know it. I have gone through this. This deception of mind, I know it.
I went through it and then I remembered it.
Because it is so exciting. It is hope. It is somewhere giving you a
There
hope.
was no more, but then I remembered it and then I became myself again.
Like a dream. You were a king in the dream and now you become yourself again. This is all mind game. Be aware of this mind game. I know I am taking away your hopes. That's my job. To shake your whole foundation, to wake you up. See? Because we have been misguided. It is not that somebody misguided us, our ignorance, our whole illusion, our misunderstanding has misguided us. I am just, pardon?
Why can we misunderstood the old things? Me, I come from the spirit that
You never try to understand. That is the whole problem. You all the time believed into your misunderstanding and you never question your misunderstandings.
know before that I
That's why I am asking that question every belief that you have taken as a truth. If you believe that, question it. Question it. Everything that is been accepted as truth, as an authority, challenge it. Just question it. Then you will understand.
Doubt is also a play of the mind.
Doesn't matter, it leads you to the right direction. And that's the way. That's one of the way which is self-inquiry. Question it. That's the only way that anything that you have been asked to believe, in any authority, in any God, in any guru or any religion, question it. Why should I believe? Why should I? Do you have that?
If you don't have this question in yourself, how you can ask?
I'm just giving you some triggering there.
Yes, because
Now you start asking at least.
Yeah.
Then you will understand that everything that you believed was just your castle on the sand, you know.
It was not a matter of trust.
It's not a matter of trust, it is a matter of faith. We have beautiful words, we twist this word. We have faith. Faith means which is not my understanding, I believe. And that belief means faith. But I call it trust. Trust means what I know, that is my trust. Trust is my natural state. Faith is something which I impose on it, something. You see. You don't have a faith that this is evening. You know it. So then when you know it, when you say this is evening, this statement itself comes from your trust in your own clarity. Trust is always with your own clarity. The faith is always with somebody's clarity. That you believe. All beliefs is your faith.
That means I change Catholic religion for other religions.
Pardon?
That means I change Catholic religions for other religions.
Same mind game. Somewhere mind wants to hold. Somewhere mind wants to put some faith. Before you were putting faith into Jesus, that's why you are Christian. Before you are putting faith into Muhammad, that's why you were Muslim. Before you are putting faith into Rama or Krishna, you were Hindu. Now you have dropped this. It is like a blind person changing the sticks. Doesn't make any difference in your blindness. Before you were walking with a Jesus stick or a Muhammad stick or Krishna stick, now you change the stick and you are walking with Osho stick, but you are still blind.
But now even don't know. Even this know.
I am not asking you to drop this stick, I am asking you to open your eyes. See through your own eyes, and the sticks you don't need. You will walk by yourself. You have your own clarity, your own understanding. Then you do not need any stick, either Osho, maybe a golden stick, or a diamond-studded stick, or an old stick. Mind always wants a new stick. And you are just showing to the people, look, I have a new stick. And not only showing, but fighting with this. See, that which stick is more stronger? Look at these Hindus and Christians and Muslims fighting. What is this fight? It's nothing but to prove which stick is more stronger. But nobody looks, nobody questions whether I am same blind person. All people who are fighting with the sticks are all blind. The one who has his own clarity does not need any stick. He walks by himself. And this eyes is a gift from the existence. Your understanding, the inner understanding is a gift from the existence. Everyone has this capacity to understand, capacity to know it. Open, treat your eyes. Don't fight with the sticks or change the sticks. Try to understand how you can see by yourself, how you can have your own clarity, your own understanding. And then the one who guides you in the direction of treatment of your eyes is the right master, not who gives you a new stick, you see. Not that who gives you a new dream or a new belief. See, the one who treats your eyes helps you to open your eyes, helps you to get to your own clarity, helps you to walk by your own, is the right master. The right mother is the one who gives a finger, but to teach the child how to walk by himself. You see, no mother is interested that the child should be crippled whole life. No master is interested that the disciple has to be a disciple whole life. No master is interested, a real master. But the false master wants to make a business out of you, wants you to be follower whole life. Surrender to me. Why should I surrender? Okay, fine. For a while, I will be with you. But how long? It is good